Sean, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to get to sit down and chat with you today.
And thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. I am joined by my husband, which happens when we get to talk to somebody really cool that we both want to get to know. And so it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've had you on the show, so it's fun to have you back.
It has been. But when she told me, she said, guess who I'm going to interview? I'm going to interview. That's how you're known in the house. It's just not even by the last name.
That is the most flattering thing.
She said, I'm interviewing Sean. And I said, when? I'm going to go ahead. I dragged the calendar out. I said, I'll take an extra long lunch. I'm going to leave work. I want to be there for that. So,
well, God help you. Like, what is he talking about? Me and podcasts are always funny when I get lost on my own words and on rabbit trails, and the host, I can see their face turn to wood while I speak.
That's great,
like, what is he talking about? I asked a question about his mother, and I was talking about toothpaste. I mean,
that's great. Random is right up my alley here. So that is great.
I'm so excited. I'm almost done with You're My Sunshine, and Dustin read it this morning. And, you know, sometimes, and you're a podcaster yourself, so you'll get this. Sometimes you read a book in preparation for an interview, right? You're reading so that you're prepared to talk to the person. And so you're keeping in the back of your mind as you're reading, okay, that'd be a good question, or that I might steer the conversation in this type of direction. I got about 2 chapters in, and I just thought, I can't read this through the lens of I'm going to do an interview with Sean, because I'm enjoying it that much that I just want to enjoy this book. So I want you to know that. I can't tell you the last time I have teared up, laughed so much reading a book. Yes, I just loved it so much. It's so good, Sean.
Okay, I'm going to throw in my 2 cents on this, because I started reading it early this morning, and I've had it for days, the advanced copy. And so I started reading this morning, read the whole thing just in one sitting.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I did. I read the whole thing.
You are a fast reader.
Well, I am. I started pretty early, but I'm also an English major. All right. Before I became a pastor, I was an English major. I have such metaphor envy, because some of your metaphors and similes, they're so tight, and you say 3 words. You say, this was like this, and I go, that was perfect. That was like the absolute perfect metaphor, whether it's historical or whether it's cultural or whatever. Like, this is absolutely perfect. I mean, so I just want you to know.
Praise coming from an English major.
There's so many of those similes that I thought, I wish that was mine. I wish I thought about that.
I am super flattered. That was a very, the pandemic, my career felt like it was about to tank. It was really the book itself it came out of an interesting time. So the fact that anything good, and I haven't really heard any reactions to this book yet, because Jamie keeps all that from me, because I don't want to know. I don't want to know good or bad, especially good. If I hear good reactions, it just kind of...
Do I need to make up something negative?
It'll poison you, and you start to believe it. Anyway, so now I'm ready to hear some reactions. And what you said is the first, literally that's the first one. And I feel this great sigh of relief, like, oh, good, I fooled them again.
Oh, it's more.
No, it's so good. I was reading the other night, and I had teared up once, and I was just audibly, not just in my head, oh, that's funny, but I was audibly laughing. And Dustin was in another room, and he just hollered at me, and he said, what is it? And I said, I'm just reading Sean's book. Like, over and over again, he would catch me laughing in the middle of reading it. So
she was sitting, I'm sorry to interrupt. She was sitting on the deck the other night, and we're out back, and everything was just quiet, and evenings are getting more fall-like, and the dog was laying there, and I heard her go, ha, ha, ha. And then about 3 minutes later, she goes, she's wiping her eyes, and it was that. And then I had the same, this morning I was having the same thing. I was going through it. And I remember hearing somebody say many years ago that in every 200-page book, there are 2 really good pages fighting desperately to get out. But I have to say, I kept reading and I was saying, that was just incredible writing. That was great writing. And then I read a little more and I was like, well, there's so many more than just 2 good pages here. I just want you to know.
I can't wait to get back on this podcast. I mean, this is just
So for people who are listening, they're like, okay, we want to actually hear about the book, right? So we've spent a few minutes kind of gushing about how much we love it. I would love for you to just start out by telling listeners a little bit about, I don't know, the beginning of your wife deciding to take on this grand adventure that the two of you went on. I'd love for listeners to just hear a little bit of that and how it all unfolded.
the whole trip began from us initially in the mental stages when my wife was thought to have cancer, and we went through this whole long, drawn-out process of whether or not she did or didn't. And this was early in our marriage. She became obsessed briefly, and by briefly I mean for like 10 minutes, with this trail that was in a magazine. I put it out of my mind, never thought about it again. We had other things to think about. And then the pandemic hit many years later, and by chance, we were getting other people's mail. And some guy had this magazine, this fitness magazine, which I do not subscribe to fitness magazine. And I was so bored. I was reading so much during the pandemic just to entertain myself. I mean, I had subscribed to like the Farmer's Almanac, Saturday Evening Post, just so that I had stuff to read because I was just bored. And also, my career seemed to be like, career was about to tank is what it felt like. So, because when you're a writer, you're on a gig by gig thing.
Yeah.
And when gigs dry up, you basically don't have a job. So
yeah.
So this magazine came in the mail, and it talked about the Great Allegheny Passage and the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal towpath. After that, it was all uphill, literally. My wife just became obsessed, and we weren't unique, obviously, because the entire world experienced a bicycle shortage. So there were other people doing this kind of stuff, obviously, because we couldn't even find bikes. And the next thing I know, I'm out there in the wilderness of a state that I've been to Pennsylvania one time before, but briefly. And so I was in an alien territory, and we were I felt naked, totally unclothed. We had no family, no friends,
Yeah.
We had our food and our clothes on our backs.
Your beef sticks.
Our beef sticks. I found one of those yesterday in a backpack, and I hurled it. I achieved incredible distance. Yeah, so anyway, and we did it. And we're not athletes. I'm not an athlete. We biked with all of our side stops and trips, side trips. We biked just about 400 miles. Tried.
That's incredible.
And I can't believe we did it. I still don't, and I'll never do it again. But then you come home, and you're still in the pandemic, and it's like, well, what am I going to write a book about? You know? And the first book, my first nonfiction book, well, it wasn't my first nonfiction book, but it was my first autobiographical type story arc book of my life, was somewhat somber, the mood of it. And during the pandemic, everything was somber. The whole world was upset with each other and mad and arguing. I knew that I wanted to write a book that was joyous or lighthearted, at least cheerful. And so I decided to choose to write about our trip. I'd taken notes because I take notes everywhere I go. So I started pouring through my notebooks and thinking, do I have enough for a whole book on this? Yeah. Anybody really cared to read about it if I did? So I wrote a few columns about our trip, and the response was overwhelmingly, people were kind of interested in it. They wanted to do something themselves, and so it was really interesting to think, wow, I'm going to be writing about something I've never written about before, and this could be the end of Sean's career.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's go out like head first, you know?
Well, and as I was reading, that was one of the things that I kept thinking about, because just being in this world of publishing and podcasting and all of that, you've cranked this out really fast. And so I kept thinking, I wonder at what point he thought, you know what, this might be my next book. And that was one of the things I was curious about as I read.
I'm so much about writing books. I mean, of course still, because I'm young and I have a lot to learn. But I've learned for me that it's like growing a pumpkin in a pumpkin patch. Because my granddaddy used to grow pumpkins in around this time of year. And some of the pumpkins would do terribly, and some of them would do really good. Some would start just naturally getting enormous, and some would just kind of sit there. And so he would watch the ones that really did well, and then he would feed those, and he'd just kind of let go of the other ones. And I start lots of little books, and I notice which ones get anemic fast, and I just wipe those away. And then if one starts to really take legs, I just go with it. Well, this one really took legs because every morning I would sit down to write. We'd finish the trip. I would get to relive being out in the woods. And I remember when I started it, we had finished our trip. We were completely done. We were in Alexandria, Virginia, which I'd never been to before. And the pandemic was still in full swing, but people were out and about on the streets. And I went to a used bookstore. It was just dusty, and I walked through, and I saw a book on the canal towpath, which we'd just done, and I thought, this gives me an idea. And I went home, and I wrote like one of the first chapters, and it felt so good. It felt so cathartic for me to not be stuck in, the world we were living in at that moment. So I had a blast.
One of the things, whenever you, again, probably more English major stuff than English teacher stuff, I noticed that you make use of you go back and you'll give a historical context, and then you'll insert present action, at least at the time of the book, seamlessly with that. And so there's I'm thinking, I'm reading it and I'm saying, oh yeah, this is like the hero's journey. This is it right here. This is it. This is it. This is like the epic hero's journey. And it flows. And the thing about it is the way that you wrote this, actually, the reader's with you is what I'm saying. And your action, the way you portray it, it is a movement arc that it's unmistakable. It's there. I'm reading. That's one reason that I just sat down this morning early and I started reading, and I was like, oh, okay. And I just kept reading, and I'm going, oh yeah, I need to know how this ends. Can you say something about, or explain a little bit, or talk a little more, just that development?
Yeah. Sure. One of the most appealing things about writing this book in particular for me was instant plot. Just add water. From the very first page, these people are going to do a trail, and the question is, will they finish the trail? And at the end of the page, if we finished, which we did, thank God, the plot's over. It's really interesting because not every book has that, especially when it's my life. When it's a life story, it's really hard to find a story for me, at least. And I'm not one of the prodigies, but finding a thread that makes a good story arc is hard in real life because there's about 7 million stories going on in your life right now. Which one do you follow, and which one's most important? And it's not going to be the most important one when you're finishing your book as the story you thought you were going to tell when you started it. It's always going to change. This was there was always continuity. I knew where I was going, so that was really nice for me because it was just a point A to point B. I didn't expect that. That's not why I started writing it, but when I did, I thought, oh, wow, okay, so I don't have to really think about the story. The story's there. This story happened. It has a beginning. It has an end. This is really neat. Yeah. And then, of course, while we were there, I was really thinking about a lot of the history that was there and stuff. When you say that you felt like you were with me, that was one of the main reasons why I went that direction, because I was getting a lot of letters, pandemic era, a lot of letters from people who were going through really bad stuff. They just wanted relief. They wanted to experience something, and not everybody can get out and do what we were doing. I feel so grateful that we were able to at this stage of our lives. And I truly wrote this for a lot of my fans who are stuck, pent. And the twofold reason, the second part of that is this trail is something that a lot of people could do. This isn't like climbing Everest. So
sure,
there's a lot of people out there who would like to experience something that is just the most adventurous thing they've ever done in their lives. And if they've got the health and the ability to do it, I just encourage it because it is changing. After the book was done, I'm no athlete. We both, Jamie and I both got bit by the bug. We're outside all the time now. yesterday, I hiked to the top of Cheaha Mountain, and a few days before that, Jim and I hiked in Oak Mountain State Park. We just haven't stopped since this book came out, or since we did this trip, and it's been really good for my mental health and for hers, just to be in a green space regularly, a few times or one time every week. So
yeah, and you talk about that a lot in the book, and it reminded me of so many memories. Several years ago, I did a handful of Ragnar relay races. Have you ever heard of those?
What is that?
Okay, they're all, he's shaking his head because he's heard me tell stories. They're all over the country, but they are typically between like 200 and 225 miles total. Now each participant does not run that amount, but you take a group of typically 4 or 8 people. I always did an 8-person team, and you split that distance up among the 8 of you into different legs. The race does it for you. They map it out and all of that, but you take 2, 4, or I guess 6 passenger vans, and you sort of frog jump each other throughout the whole course from beginning to end. And from the time you start, I mean, you run through the night.
Where would you go from what points would you be running?
Yes. So I have done Tennessee, which is Chattanooga to Nashville.
Oh my God.
And I've done DC, which is you start somewhere up in Maryland and you end in downtown DC.
Holy cow.
And so,
do you know all these people on your team?
Yes, I did. I did it with coworkers. The 3 that I've done, I did them all with really good friends that were coworkers. And those are some of my most favorite memories, because I can remember times where I was cheering somebody on as they were finishing a leg at, 6 a.m. I can remember a leg that I did at like 3 in the morning in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, with farmland on either side of me. And there's just something special about doing something that crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
It just like mentally puts you in another space. And I feel like reading your all story has challenged me to do more things like that again.
It's challenged me to do more things like that too. I mean, that was so far beyond anything that we're even in shape for. And it still didn't stop us.
Yeah.
And that has been a real lesson to me. You're never going to be totally ready. Just go. And if it stinks and it sucks and you mess up, then it stinks and it sucks and you mess up, and you keep that memory forever.
Yes.
So you mentioned in the book, you reference multiple times, we're talking about that right now, you referenced how to go from the norm of the safety and the routine and the security and the kind of
life.
Relaxed everyday kind of life to being instantly, after your shuttle ride, with the guy who drops you off, you're instantly immersed after you found the trailhead. You're instantly immersed into wilderness,
major cities, and then
So how was that? And I know you've hinted at it a little bit as we've been talking about. What was that like? That sudden contrast between.
Well, it's interesting. Yesterday, I told you I went to Talladega and I hiked Cheaha because I had a writing gig that I had to do in Talladega, and then I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, and I was on my way back. This morning I woke up. I mean, literally, I didn't wake up that early. I was getting out of the hotel, and as I'm walking out of the hotel, I see about 10 or 12 guys sitting around a table in the lobby down where they eat breakfast normally. Breakfast was over, and they were just having this business conference. And it was so super high energy. It was so adrenaline fueled. It was so, I could just tell by their body language. They were getting stuff done, whatever they were doing. And there was a clear leader. There was a clear pecking order and hierarchy, and everybody was kissing the right guy's tail parts and all of that stuff. And as I got out into the parking lot of the Holiday Inn, the Appalachians are all around you in Talladega. And I'm looking at these Appalachians and I'm thinking, I realize why I like being out here. Because when you're out there, wherever there is a trail or nature, your life does not revolve around what was in there at the Holiday Inn. And the entire majority of civilized life happens like what was happening around that table. Everything everybody does is about making a living. Making money, and all the businesses get together so that their business can make more money, and so that they can whatever, provide for their family, and their kids can go to good colleges. And it's at some fundamental level, it's all about money, which is fine. Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad, but getting out into nature, it becomes just about breathing and eating and having enough water. And is my knee getting tight? Am I going to be able to make it to the end of this trail? What am I doing out here? Why am I out here? Where are my little Debbies? It changes your perspective. So what it was like for me to be deposited into Pittsburgh, naked and afraid, and then to go onto that trail was an immediate priority shift. And I know it sounds so trite and cliche, but I live behind a laptop screen, and I spend 8, sometimes 12 hours a day finishing up projects, and the glow of the light, that's my life. Being out there, that didn't exist. There were no societal requirements. It was nice, but it was very also startling, a shock to the system to realize that if your clothes get wet, you have no clothes. So
yeah.
I told you I'm not good at answering questions.
This is everything we hoped it would be. I love it so much.
This is great.
We've said the title of the book a couple of times. I would love You Are My Sunshine. I would love for you to tell the story behind how you named it, what you named it.
That is an important song to my family. And it's an important song probably to everybody's family of a certain generation, maybe even multiple generations now. And it was always a song of endearment, a song of love. It was never like just to whistle or sing. It was always sang to you, which is interesting because there are not many songs like that. You sing 76 trombones at the big parade. You're not singing it to your daughter.
Yeah.
You're singing it. Or you whistle the Andy Griffith theme and it's just a song. But when you sing You Are My Sunshine, it's usually some matriarchal figure in my life singing it to me, or me singing it to my niece, or me singing it to Jamie, or we sang it to my mother-in-law when she was dying. She was on her bed and she had hours left, and we gathered around, and I had the guitar, which feels very weird to play for anybody in a living room to me, but it feels even weirder when somebody's on the way out. And we sang hymns, and then we sang You Are My Sunshine, and she kind of perked up when we did it, and my wife was just sobbing, and I'm singing this final song for my mother-in-law, and I'm looking at Jamie, and I'm singing to her too, and it was an incredibly powerful moment for me personally. And at that point, that's when I realized I think this would be a good book name for the book. I mean, there's other reasons, but this was one of the moments where it occurred to me that so Jamie is my sunshine. That we don't have kids, and my dogs go to the bathroom too much to be anybody's sunshine. So
same here.
I wanted this book to be about the relationship I have with Jamie. I have never written about our unique relationship, which is at least unique to me. We get along so well. She kind of tells me what to do. I wanted readers to at least grasp some of the odd couple like moments that we have. So some of the dialogue and all that. I just wanted people to see the misery that she has to live with.
I loved it. Well, I think one of the reasons I loved it so much is I said to Dustin the other day, I've never felt so endeared to a couple before. And I think part of that is because sometimes we kind of feel like an odd couple, right? Different seasons. We don't have children either. And so there was just part of me that felt like there are people, Yeah. And I just love that.
Well, it's funny because when you don't have children, it really allows you to be extraordinarily eccentric, both of you.
Yeah.
And so we are both allowed to be as weird as we want, and we don't have anybody. And that makes us even more weird.
Yes. It's self-feeding. Eccentricity.
We don't all have to sit down and have the same dinner at night, and ask how
exactly.
She needs to travel and do something she can, and if I do, and that just really, when we hang out with couples whose lives are about kids, I see just how wonderful their lives are and how normal they can be. And Jamie and I are just not that way. We're becoming eccentric.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
I hope not. 50 years from now, I'll probably be, sleeping on a cot underneath a bridge somewhere.
Well, one of the things that I was thinking about, knowing I was going to get to talk to you, and I think Dustin and I say this almost every time you come up in conversation, you have such a unique lane that you run in our world, right, of podcasting, publishing, and writing, and you're a musician and all those things. And I couldn't help but want to ask you, if you were giving advice to somebody who's trying to navigate what they feel like isn't quite a normal path or an expected path, I just wonder, what advice would you give them?
It's advice that I need for my own self right now, every day, is just learn how to be comfortable with yourself. You don't have to accept yourself all the way, because there's going to be things you want to change, and you don't have to know yourself and find yourself, because that's a lifelong thing. I hadn't done it yet. I'm closer than I was before, but I hadn't found anything. But the level of comfort with myself that I'm able to enjoy now, I am what I am kind of thing. It feels a little. It takes the pressure off. I once saw a bumper sticker in traffic, and I never forget it. In fact, someone sent me it, and I can't find it. So I don't know how they found it, but they found it and sent it to me, and now it's on my guitar case. But I saw it in traffic, and it was on this just busted up piece of junk Nissan Altima, and this thing just was barely holding together with duct tape and baling wire and just spitting out blue exhaust. And it said on the back, "Life got easier when I gave up." And I thought, and then it just motored away. And that could be my motto. When you quit trying, it gets a lot easier. And so if you're comfortable with yourself and you find yourself in this unique zone and you don't know what you are, well, welcome to the club. But just be comfortable with it.
We're all in process.
Yeah. I mean, as you can tell, I'm not very good at advice. I know how to make it sound like I'm good at it.
That's the key. I had a friend of mine that he would whenever he would do a little stuff on stage every now and then, and he would do some like stand up stuff and tell some stories and stuff. But I remember one day he got on stage. We were somewhere, and he stepped up and he strapped on his guitar. And so he kept talking and he kept talking, and then he took it and kind of a la Roy Clark, took the fretboard and pushed it down to his side, so the guitar is kind of half on his back, and he's talking. Finally, somebody in the audience said, "John, you going to play the guitar?" And he said, "No, I don't actually play the guitar. I just carry it to look sincere." And so that was the line. So that's it. The sounding sincere part is a large part of advice, I think.
But somebody told me sincerity is the key to life. Once you can fake that, you can do anything.
Too good.
Yeah, I don't. The zone that I find myself in is completely uncharted territory. First of all, I have no qualifications to do what I do. I have no qualifications to be a writer. I have no qualifications to stand up and speak to people in a big room. No qualifications to. I didn't go to school to learn music or nothing. I played in a lot of places I shouldn't have been. A kid grows up and says, "I'm going to be a storyteller," and that's what I do on stage. And say, "Well, what is that? That's not even a job description." I mean, that's pathetic. If I told my teacher that I wanted to be a storyteller, she'd call me a fertilizer salesman. So I don't know what I'm doing. I really, truly don't know what I'm doing or why or any of that. And that's the only thing I can try to do is embrace it and be comfortable with it as it's happening, because who knows how long that's going to be. So I don't know what I'm doing. If anybody else doesn't know what they're doing either, you're in good company.
Yeah. And I think that's the permission slip part, is like, you were made for that, right? Like, what you do, you were made for it.
I do feel that, whatever that is.
Yeah.
It is the first winning horse I've ever ridden on. Like, I feel like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's kind of like being a fish who's been forced to climb a tree all his life. And all of a sudden, one day when he's, in his mid-40s, he's put into the water. He's like, I know how to swim. Yeah. And I swim faster than the house cats.
Somebody had asked when we were back in Mississippi, I actually brought your name up to a guy who helped direct and kind of managed one of the local small kind of theaters where they do plays and stuff. And I said, you know what you need to do? You need to have a night with Sean Dietrich. That's what you need to do. And so he said, well, what's it like? He said, what's he like? And I said, well, he's not really like anybody. And he said, no, but give me an idea. And so I said, well, it's like if Garrison Keillor from Prairie Home Companion got meshed with Jerry Clower You know Jerry Clower?
Oh God, yeah. He was the only comedian I was allowed to listen to.
Yeah. Same when I was a kid. And so I said, it's like Prairie Home Companion meets Jerry Clower meets the Andy Griffith Show. I said, and if you put all those together and then add a musical element, that's what it is. And he just looked at me and he just blinked real slow.
I get a lot of that.
Yeah, I do too. And I looked at him and I said, you're not tracking with me. And he said, no. I said, well, I'm going to send you some podcasts. You just need to listen to this guy because that's the best I can do. I said, that
is high praise.
Well, that's how I described you. That's still how I describe you when I'm asked.
I mean, let me move in with you guys.
Come see us anytime you want, man. Seriously.
I appreciate all that. This has been the best. You know, today, ironically, this is the anniversary of my dad's suicide.
Right.
This is 28 years today. Yeah. That was a formative time in my life. That was the most formative time in my life of any event. And to be talking to y'all today about this, talking about what could loosely be called a career/shipwreck is really cool because not a lot of people expected much out of me. And most of them haven't been disappointed, but I think it's neat
to hear
what you've been saying.
Well, we're thankful for you, and I just am so excited for this book to get out in the world. For listeners who want to go grab a copy of it, again, it is called You Are My Sunshine. You can go grab it wherever books are sold, and we're just so excited to introduce all of our people to you and all that you are and all that you're doing because, again, it is so unique and the world needs more of it right now. I know my heart needed the message of the book, so I just appreciate everything that you're doing, Sean. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been the best 40 minutes of my day.
I'm so glad.
Mine too.
But now you got to get back to like real work, right?
I really do.
The glowing screens. We have to go back to the glowing screens.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.